Good Saturday to you, everybody. Income 785. Welcome to week boom, bam, 12. How is everybody doing? The semester is progressing. We are moving along. Speaking of moving along, let's get this week's video off on the right note. Okay. How were you during my absence? Did everything go well? I missed you. I missed making the videos and reading your comments. Some of you kept up with me by email. Some things you had to do, some health issues. I hope that you are blessed and well. Okay. This video for this week, we are going to look at the readings from week 11. The video for the readings for week 13, which is coming, I'll do that on Monday. And at that time, then I will also do the video for the readings from week 12. All right, because as I said before I left, this video was going to be late. I'd actually hoped to get to it yesterday, but there were just too many things getting back. I had intended to be back on the 26th, but as it turned out, I didn't get back to the 27th. I go each summer back to my hometown. I always feel like I have a button open on the shirt. Back to my hometown of Salt Lake City, and I help my mother, who is, what is she this year? Listen to me, bad son. She's 80, and, fix up the house and just, it's nice to visit. Okay. And depending on what the schedule is, I do some backpacking afterwards, just kind of a, decompress, and then hightail it back east to where I belong. So anyway, but there, she just was not well. So we stayed an extra day. So for those of you that I had appointments for on the 27th, thank you for making rearrangements to other days. Okay. Now, also, some of you let me know that you have some illnesses you're struggling with. I won't mention you aloud by name, but know that you are in my prayers. And I hope for your speedy recovery and that you come out on the other side of this right as rain, we used to say. Okay, let's take a look back at week 11, because I know we're coming to the end of week 12, but this was the video that I had intended to do in the early part of the week, like Monday, but I was on the road and couldn't do that. All right, so this is the beginning of our new section, our new our new unit, number 3, in which we delve into the not-for-profit sector. Okay, and we finished up with Cialdini and with Wilson, and I hope for both of those, you found those to be, helpful books that you'll keep around. I hope likewise. I'm looking around for my copy. Here we go, of When Helping Hurts. Okay, principal author is Courbet, or I don't know if he that's the French pronunciation. I don't know if he uses that. Courbet, could be. I hope that you find this useful as well. I have to tell you, from my many, many years in the not-for-profit sector, have found it tremendously useful. It's not a book that is a how-to like Wilson at all. It's a book, rather, that's a why to. Why do you do this? Which, especially in the not-for-profit sector, I think is tremendously important. Because also part of your readings was this chapter from Pallotta. Okay, Dan Pallotta, When Helping Hurts. There's a lot of, just to put it plainly, failure in the not-for-profit sector. That is, that the money doesn't get raised, and many times the issue doesn't get addressed. Now, I mentioned in the video about this unit that you could watch the TED Talk from Dan Pallotta, And, and if you watch the TED Talk or if you read the introduction to the book, he sort of has this, I refuse to accept that poverty can't be solved and hunger can't be eliminated. I have to respectfully disagree with Mr. Pallotta, because the failure to say eliminate poverty or eradicate hunger lies not in the not-for-profit sector, that is how well they do or don't raise money or how effectively they put it towards the problem or not. No, it lies in the behaviors of those that are in the problem and cause the problem. So it's not like it's not like developing an antibiotic to wipe out a bacteria or a vaccine to eradicate smallpox or something like this. Okay, pathogens, I mean, they're tricky little beasties, but you can corner them in a lab and just zap away. You can't do that with people. I mean, well, you could, but then now we call you Hitler, so that's a no bueno. So say throughout the continent of Africa, and right now, for instance, there's a civil war raging between the factions in the nation of Chad and in the Sudan. Okay, so what are you going to do? Carpet bomb the place and say, well, this is how we're going to have to eradicate poverty and suffering. We're just going to blast away at those rebel factions who are constantly at each other and use food as a weapon and disrupt supply lines and don't care about the plight of those that they drive out. You see what I'm saying? It's like, come on, Dan. So I wasn't really crazy about that. Okay, but he makes a point that the business as a whole does not function well. This is where this book comes in, and it's one of the things that I asked you about in the questions for week 12, and I'll get to those. We'll see how you did that after Monday, is to compare what both authors believe the origins of the problem are. And although, if you haven't answered this question already, so here's spoiler alert, although they seem to strike a very different tone, I'm going to suggest to you that the tone is not really that different. Without giving too much away, they're almost talking about the same thing. Now, what's to be done about it? That's where they part ways. And significantly, they part ways because Pastor Steve Corbet is a Christian and a pastor and a man of God. And I'm not saying that Dan Pallotta is a godless man, but Dan Pallotta, you watch his TED Talk, you only have to watch it for like 5 minutes, has got a number of axes to grind with the Christian worldview. Dan Pallotta is a homosexual male married to another male raising children. All right. This sort of worldview that children don't need a male and a female presence, that marriage is a sacrament between a man and a woman, is way outside of the Christian sphere. So it doesn't surprise me that Pallotta sort of pokes an accusatory finger at the Christian past, or at least one narrow band of the Christian past that is the Puritan, and says, aha, here's where the problem originates. That doesn't surprise me. But then he just sort of goes off into a different direction. If you haven't picked up on it already, Corbet makes a similar argument. He says, look, when the gap between, and this is, we get this out of the gospel every Sunday, when the gap between what you say and what you do gets wider, your walk with the Lord gets wobblier. And in reading the Gospels, the people's, or I should say the behavior that our Savior railed against the most was hypocrisy. Saying one thing and doing something else. Woe to you hypocrites. They're like tombs, whitewashed on the outside, all pretty and nice looking, but on the inside, overflowing with filth and corruption. So Courbet says, well, the answer to this, to fixing the gap between what we say and what we do in this very Christian endeavor of charity, is not to throw Christian principles overboard. It's to close the gap. There. Okay. So I've given away week 12. Didn't mean to do it, but it just came out. Okay. Let's take a look at the questions from week 11, your responses, and see what we can add. All right. Question number 1. What does Pallotta have to say about how attitudes concerning self-sacrifice impact non-profit work in the United States? In your informed opinion, is he correct? Billy, you went first, so we're going to take you first. Pallotta argues that the foundational beliefs about non-profits have been skewed. The belief that those who serve in the non-profit profits don't care as much or should receive the blame for the continued struggle on many issues plaguing American society is cruel. In other words, it's not their fault. Okay. And that's, fair enough. Pallotta mentions a flawed outlook on American struggles date back to the Puritans' thought on human depravity. In my opinion,